Buddy, and thanks for being here at this time. We have a full council, everybody's present. Would you please stand? The pledge will be led by Councilman Lopez and then the invocation by Councilman Andazola. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Creator, we thank you for being here today. We ask you to please bless us all as we're here as we make decisions for this wonderful community of ours. We are thankful for our Parks and Recs Committee being here tonight to giving a presentation. We are thankful for our city manager, our city clerk, all of our department heads, and our employees that we value the most. And most of all, we value our citizens. And we thank you for everything that you've done for us, Heavenly Creator, and we ask you to be with us tonight. We ask this through the Heavenly Creator's name. Amen.
There's no citizen comments on agenda items. Any citizen comments on non-agenda items? No. Okay, they will close the regular meeting and reconvene and convene.
You have it. You have it now, Nancy.
What's it for? Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega and Vice Mayor Lopez and the rest of you lot. Thank you for allowing me to address you again. I addressed you about a month ago regarding our desperate need for an enclosed community center to service the needs, the recreational and social needs of the elderly and the kids. Okay, I don't know if I have any argument that these are in big and important populations. The elders, if we stay around, will be paying your salary for a while more. And the kids may stay off of fentanyl. It is a driving and important need. And I've been talking to all the people all over, and Thatcher has a plan, and Pima has a plan, and both of them have got money. And you know what they've told me? Stafford won't cooperate with us. So I'm discouraged, gentlemen. I've talked to Dusty, it's a little different, that we haven't moved forward in this. The first time I addressed you on this topic was about 15 years ago. Okay? Since then, you've put in how many parks that 3 dog walkers go through in a day? And seniors are dying. They don't have any place to recreate, especially low impact recreation. And they need indoor recreation. So that year round, there's a place to go. And a state-of-the-art facility would provide for fabulous filtration systems, more rooms so that when the next pandemic hits, as they predict, we will be able to distance ourselves and still be able to go out. Right? I'm frustrated. I realize that. And so are some of my friends who are very interested in this project, including the county. You got money from the Biden-Harris administration for inflation reduction, infrastructure, the CHIPS Act, which incidentally has provided a tremendous decrease in the amount of imports from China on the microchips. Okay? Money has come in, the CARES Act, the COVID relief fund. COVID hit us bad. All of your revenues in the whole county were affected by these revenue charges. So we're in a crisis. And I think it's a good time since this money has come in to start shoring up our resources and moving forward. So I'm willing to commit. I got nothing else to do. I'm willing to commit to go out there and fundraise and to talk to more people, gather letters and this and that. And you know what I want from you? I heard and saw on the agenda that you somehow found money to buy 30 acres of land. And I would like you to discuss and consider and get back to me about a commitment for 15 acres to build this facility. That's all I want. And I will put my money where my mouth is. And I have a lot of people behind me. And all of your
Mayor, she's at 3 minutes already.
oh, um, your friends in the other municipalities are stepping up to the plate and they're eager to work together. Would you please let me know if this 15 acres can be held until we can find out if there's so that we can have a feasibility study and get our resources together.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item number 8, a work session. We're closing the regular meeting and reconvening into a work session. The work session is the Parks and Recreation for naming of the park.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for the Mayor and City Council to hold a work session to discuss park naming with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Strategic goals involved will be quality of life, infrastructure development, and maintenance. And the background is the council held a work session on November 13th, 2023 regarding the naming of several locations, including the airport, the front lawn of City Hall, the park facility at 8th and Discovery, and the park on 14th Avenue. Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee was tasked with reaching out to the public to present name suggestions to the council for the 2 parks for approval by the council. Beginning in December 2023, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee has been discussing naming and outreach ideas for the parks. They have requested a work session with the council to discuss their ideas and receive further direction. Recommended action, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee is requesting input for the naming process. The attachments that you have included in your packet are the naming policy that was passed and the minutes from the November 13th meeting. And the remaining members, the 4 members of the committee, are here as well, and they have a short presentation for you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Nora Rogers, and I am the chairwoman of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. We also have Tim Linden. He's our vice chair, and we have Tad Jacobson. He's a board member. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to serve our community. We have been a committee since 2021 at the request of Mayor Jason Couts and the Safford City Council. Mayor Couts was an integral part and the driving force of the formation in the Parks and Recreation Committee. The City of Safford Parks naming policy states, quote, "A commemorative naming is intended for permanent recognition. In noteworthy situations, commemorative name is added to an asset specifically acknowledging an individual, a group, or an organization. Extraordinary contributions are sacrificed to the development of Safford's culture, spirit, or quality of life. Such acknowledgments provide memories for the community of the honored individual, group, or organization." So that's in the policy that we went by as we were discussing details, as we were collaborating and working together on this. In December of 2023, the Parks and Recreation Committee was tasked with naming 2 parks. The first park is located on El Paso Boulevard, and the second is located on the corner of Discovery Park and 8th Avenue. According to the requirements of the City of Safford Parks naming policy, the committee has unanimously voted that a commemorative group name would best suit the Discovery Park Boulevard and 8th as Legends Park. The group organization's name would best suit the function of El Paso Boulevard as Community Partners Park. The naming of both parks were supported by these ideas from the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. We unanimously voted that we wanted to commemorate and recognize those that have built this community. A place to return to, a place for family, a place to belong. Remembering our roots and celebrating those who volunteered before us. For those that have laid the foundation for this place we call home. It represents the virtues that our community dedicates through service to one another, educating our youth, volunteerism, taking pride in our heritage, culture, and legacy that we stand for. We were propelled to choose a group name that would commemorate our past, sustain our present, and inspire future generations. So with that being said, let me introduce Tim Linden. He's our vice chair, as he shares about the naming of El Paso Park. The Parks and Recreation Committee voted unanimously to name this park Community Partners Park.
Mayor Ortega, members of the council, thanks for hearing from us tonight. The Parks and Rec Committee has been working hard on this process for the last couple of years, and we'd like to share a few things in regards to the park specifically. We wanted a name that would give representation and recognition to organizations of our community that have sacrificed unwavering service, monetary funds, and volunteerism to the city of Safford. The committee recognizes that there are many groups and organizations in our community that fit this criteria. With that being said, the committee has decided the best way to recognize these groups in a single park is that we name amenities after these specific groups. Item 2B of the park's naming policy states that the organizations that have given, quote, extraordinary contributions or sacrifice to the development of Safford's culture, spirit, or quality of life. For example, the flagpole could be named after the Lions Club, or the Ramadas could be named after United Way, etc. Our recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Committee is that pavers engraved for $50 and trees with a plaque at $200 could be purchased with the approval of the City of Safford Parks naming policy / City Council to commemorate an organization, or the organization would be recognized and approved during a formal council meeting and forever be a part of the City of Safford minutes, or Safford City Council minutes. I would like to introduce Tad Jacobson as he shares to the group about the items we voted on for the Discovery Park and 8th plan.
Good evening, Mayor Ortega and the council. Thanks for having us again. So a couple of things that we decided with the Discovery Park was we thought about Mayor Council. We thought he was kind of a very good, servant leader of our community. And he served our community and contributed selfless levels of, included being a referee for different leagues, the high school, city leagues, junior leagues, all those kind of things. He served as our city mayor, we know that. Contracted work for the downtown theater. He loved music and the joy it brought to others. And so with that being said, we wanted to recommend that we'd name the amphitheater after Mayor Jason Couts. Also, he was a praise leader at his church and was really heavily involved in music there as well. The commemorative group name for Discovery and 8th Avenue and all that we have discussed in going back to our roots and our history is a place for family, a place to call home, but most importantly, recognizing the legends in our life. With that being said, we would like to recommend naming the park Legends Park. Other amenities, the splash pad, the bridge, the elementary playground, the pickleball courts, the bridge over the canal, all of those are all just different things we could name. All of us have legends in our life that deserve a foundational piece of the building of this park. Our recommendation from the Parks and Recreation Committee is that pavers engraved and trees with plaques, the pavers being $50 and the plaques being $200, can be purchased with the approval of the City Safford Park naming policy. The City Council to commemorate legend. This legend would be recognized and approved during the formal council meetings and forever be a part of the City of Safford Council minutes. Is there any questions?
We're work session, right? So we'll just shout them out. Was there much discussion or an attempt to single out an individual on either park? Like that would be hard. We had the similar thing with the airport, and that is a challenge. I just was interested in how much
Yeah, that's the toughest part is because, that's why we kind of fell on Legends, because there's so many great people over the course of Safford's history that have done monumental things for our city that it's hard to kind of dial in on one person. And with so many things, so many different varieties that's gonna be at the park, we thought it'd be, an obvious choice for the amphitheater. We thought we all agreed on would be Mayor Couch, but can be some great discussions over those other amenities at the park, and look at what type of part of the park it is, and look at people that have served or done things like in that nature. I could throw out a million examples, but as I was sitting there, I was just thinking like, there's people right here on our board that have done some great things. There's a ton of volunteers. There's a ton of community members that have worked long days, long years for the city, and then continue to give back. There might be a place in the park for those people, and so we'd hate to narrow it down to one person when we have this giant opportunity to commemorate more people and make it a park where there's people from every walk of life, male, female, different ways of serving. Yeah, so
Did you
it was
guys
tough.
kick around any other names?
Oh yeah,
For a mini
we probably had I don't know, pretty long list of
tentative
names, and
list?
so
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
so there's after we settled in on the amphitheater part of it, and we would really like that to happen. But yeah, there's 20 other people that we all talked about, and we've all grown up here in Safford, and how do we settle in on one of those, or find a way? And so we were talking about discussing ways to get to those, naming those different sections as well. So
I just want to say thank you guys for your hard work because that's hard trying to decide. And I think it's awesome that you guys have left it very open so it can be very inclusive because you don't want to pick just one person and then you're going to go off and offend all the other ones who have worked really hard too. So I think it's really great how you guys chose the bricks and the trees and leaving it very inclusive. So thank you for that. So everyone has a chance to be recognized there.
And to that point, with the trees, with the bricks, it leaves it open for future too. There's a lot of room to grow. There are going to be people in the future that have a big impact, and they will be the future legends, and we made room for them as well.
That's true.
So
Thank you.
And also, if you look behind you, there's plenty of names that we could add to this park. So we stand on the shoulders of many who serve our community, and that's what we want the legacy to keep going, is that this community is built upon those who serve our community. And with that service, you leave fingerprints on generations behind you without even knowing it. If you close your eyes today and you thought of one person of why you're even here tonight, because this is an influential place. Most people don't just show up to city council meetings. But being here today, you could probably think of one person that left a fingerprint on your life. So that was when creating this, those are all of our thoughts.
You know what, now, after hearing your presentation, it makes a little more sense to where you're going. I definitely like the idea of, Jason Couch with the amphitheater. I think that is totally appropriate. I'm kind of like this on every little other item, but I hear what you're saying, and so far, good job. Where you're coming from, and now hearing what legend, where that came. At first, that didn't mean anything to me, but now after you kind of explaining it, it makes a little more sense.
And Mayor, that's also the thought too, that when families arrive at the park, that they also are commemorating somebody and thinking of somebody that they are recognizing. So we also want to make this inclusive, like Dusty had said, make it inclusive and also make it personal, but also make it community. So it's very wide range. Yes.
Just to be clear, Mayor, though, if we didn't go beyond the amphitheater and we just had one, it's either we do all the amenities, or it should be Jason Couch Park. Just to be clear on that, I mean, it would be silly if we just had Legends Park and the Jason Couch Amphitheater and then we stopped there. So it's kind of one or the other.
And I would have no problem with just naming the park after Jason and myself.
And that would be a council decision anyway. It wouldn't have to be unanimous, but I just want to make sure we're clear on that. That would kind of defeat the purpose, I think. If we didn't name other amenities.
Wanting input on the other
Yeah.
amenities. I don't think you guys were just going for just one thing, right?
No, they definitely weren't, but the mayor said he wasn't as sure about all the other little things. So I'm just making clear that we need to do all the other things if we're gonna go this direction.
Well, that's why they call it Legend Park,
Right. I'm not confused about this at all.
though. Yeah.
I'm clarifying what the mayor said.
I mean, it could also be up to you guys if you wanted to leave it at one amenity at amphitheater and then keep the Legends Park. Also, the pavers and the trees also support the same force that we're trying to commit to. But again, these are just suggestions and recommendations, so you guys would make the ultimate decision.
One thing we talked about, if we started off with Mayor Couts in the amphitheater, and we picked a date, like somewhere around July or something like that, and we had a yearly get together with food trucks, because there's going to be a food truck portion there, and had like a day in the park where we could unveil like the splash pad name and invite that family or that group. Kind of talk. Okay? Finish this. Okay. Thought I was going to get the hook right now, but so if we start off with, because we all agreed again, like we were unanimous on that part of it, and that gives us time for the next year to think about, okay, the splash pad. And I'm just going to throw out a name. She's no longer with us, but like Georgia Sullivan was a legend here. I mean, everybody knows Georgia, and what she's done for the community. If we decided and we went to the public and we talked about it and said, hey, we want to that would be kind of her channel, and we'd want to invite the Sullivan family and have a big event about the same time, make it a yearly thing. And then if the bridge over the canal that's really nice and it's going to cost a lot of money, that was the Paul Robinson Bridge or whatever, I don't know, I'm just throwing names out, and we had the Robinsons all come back and we had a big party and we invited the family, kind of like a ribbon cutting, but a celebration of all the new legends. And we did it, maybe once a year. There might be legends among us that are still here doing things that do some incredible things in the future that we want to, move with. So it wouldn't be like we want to name everybody year one or like right away, but it just gives us some time to get some community input, and us as a committee, we can send out, do some every downtown event, gather information and see what people are thinking and make sure that we do the right thing, kind of be a voice for the whole community on the legends, so that it's not the six of us picking who the legends are, but we're listening to, the community. So,
Great idea.
yeah. And then, like I said, yearly, I don't know if it's 4th of July, having an event, having bands out at the band shell at Couch's Park starting year one, and, talking to Reed about Battle of the Bands there, and talking about making that kind of the gathering place for that instead of the fairgrounds and stuff like that. Those are all ideas we've thought about. So.
One thing I'd like to mention, I think it was mentioned that you named the flagpole. I would be totally against, because the flagpole's a flagpole. The focus should be on our flag.
I definitely agree. It was just the idea of an example. And just one more thing that we could also add is possibly like a plaque when coming across the bridge and describing what Legends Park is, and also describing what Community Partners Park is. So there's an explanation there.
And would we be interested at all in putting Safford in front of the name of both of them?
Of course.
I mean, just officially, because I mean, if you're putting it not legally, but formally somewhere, we probably want the name of the city. If that doesn't mess up your.
Any other questions?
No, but I kind of understand where you're coming from too. a lot of these people, they just didn't put fingerprints. They have footprints here in this community. And there's nothing wrong with, no matter what we choose, still having what you're talking about. Because they could walk around the park and that'd be a visual walk around history lesson as they walk around and see everything that takes place and gives a history of us and the things that we, have brought forward to it. And I know different individual things have been named after people. We have a water fountain at the swimming pool after Mr. Porter. He donated the water fountain, and I believe it's named after him. And I know the difficulty you had in trying to come up with one person. Again, that's what happened to us with the airport. We did, but it was real hard, and we ended up still adding a wall to that too. So I understand where you're coming from on this. So, I'm open-minded and still listening to what you're saying about it.
Thank you. And also just being a teacher in the community, our our young kids and our generations coming up that we're teaching, we need to teach them to take pride in what we have and pride in our community and pride in picking up trash off the park, picking up after yourself, keeping things clean. And I think we're missing that in an essence. And if if you take a family and say, "Oh, this is your grandpa's paver, let's go visit it," it brings ownership to it and it brings a sense of pride. Like this is my part too. Oh, my grandpa did this in the community. My mom did this or that or whatever. So there's a lot of reasoning and collaborating that came together in all of this, and some of it's personal experiences that we do and we in our personal lives serving our community. But I'm blabbering. Okay, I'm done.
One other quick thought, and shoot it down if it doesn't make sense, but I keep having this thought that I'd like to focus on people who also maybe don't have a connection to another organization that can name something for them. For example, I'm a teacher as well, and if you're a teacher that's made a pretty profound footprint, fingerprint, whatever you want to call it, the school can uh, provide that honor. So I'd like to catch people that maybe aren't tied organizationally to somewhere that they could have that honor.
So, like, I'm a huge Ed Ragland fan. Me and Danny Smith did a lot of the groundwork for the Ed Ragland courts and kind of did that project. So Ed would be off the table for the park. John Boniface has a ton of stuff named after
Right.
him.
Right.
I know is that
That thought,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially people who again, because of what they did for a
if
living,
they've got recognized by other entities and
Or-
they've kind of got their name,
or
like
could be.
Justin Gaethje has his face on the side
Right.
of a building. Probably don't want to put.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we do have a lot of people that wouldn't have a connection to some place yeah, that's awesome.
I like your idea. It's not going to solve your problem though, because you still have the entities you want to name. You're still in the same place, but I'm open-minded to what you have, Chair.
I appreciate the hours you guys have put into this, and it sounds like you've got a commitment to finish it out with a whole bunch more hours. So I'm impressed, and I like it, and keep going.
What do you think you need anything from us? I mean, as far as you read something about the policy, you think it works for you?
Yes, we do. We agree that, and the to be about naming a group or an organization, a commemorative name. Yes, we agree.
You think the wording helps you with that too, and it's there in the policy? You think
Yes.
it's there? Okay.
Yes. Is it clear to you as well? We just wanted to make sure that there was clarity there, that we were within the boundaries of the policy.
I think so. I've read what you said. I read ours, and it can be worked.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much. Job well done so far. Keep it up.
You too, Peter.
You too.
Okay, we'll close the work session and reconvene into a regular council meeting. We'll close the regular council meeting and reconvene into a public hearing. The public hearing, as required by Arizona Revised Statute Section 42-17104, a public hearing will be held for the purpose of hearing comments from the public on the following items: combined fiscal 2024-2025 budget and tax levy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is, like you mentioned, a public hearing regarding the final budget and then our property tax levy. This year is a little bit different in the fact that typically we have the truth and taxation hearing alongside this meeting, but because of the publishing dates of the newspaper, this one is standalone now. Therefore, we have two public hearings. The first one you guys had was on the truth and taxation. This one is just to have the public an opportunity to speak about the proposed final budget as well as the tax levy. This year, we did not increase the tax rate for our property taxes, but due to an increase in assessed valuation, we will see an increased generation of revenue because of that, and around $36,000. So this public hearing is for any public comment on the increased tax levy as well as the final budget.
Any comments from the? Okay, hearing none, then we'll close the public hearing and reconvene into a special meeting. Item number 13, adopt financial budget by resolution R24-022.
Again, thank you. This is a request for the mayor and council to adopt resolution R24-022. This is the adoption of the city of Safford's fiscal year 24-25 final budget. Here we have listed the strategic goals, which it is all of them this year. A little bit of background. Arizona Revised Statutes requires the city to prepare and adopt a balanced budget annually for each fund on or before the third Monday in July. City staff has been developing the FY 24-25 budget since late August of last year to ensure the city meets all the elements of Arizona Revised Statute, city code, internal policies, and generally acceptable budget practices. Over a period of several months, staff presented elements of the budget for City Council's review. The City Council has adopted Resolution R24-21 on May 13th, 2024. This established the city's FY 24-25 tentative budget in the amount of $102,736,021, inclusive of a $15 million contingency funding across all funds. In accordance with Arizona Revised Statute, the tentative budget was published in the Eastern Arizona Courier for 2 consecutive weeks, and copies of the tentative budget were available for public viewing at the city clerk's office and also here at the library. In addition, all Arizona Revised Statute public hearing requirements have been met prior to consideration of the final budget. A little bit of analysis on this. The provided table outlines the city's annual budget across various expenditure categories for fiscal years 23-24 and 24-25. This highlights significant changes year over year. The total budget increased from $81 million to $102 million, marking a rise of $21 million or 26%. Notably, the budget for capital projects experienced the largest increase, rising by $13 million, a 46% jump. Additionally, the contingency fund also saw an increase of $5 million. Personnel and operational and maintenance costs saw increases of 6% and 7% respectively, ensuring continued support for the workforce and essential services. The internal services, debt servicing, and transfers out showed relatively smaller changes, with debt slightly decreasing. As you see in your packet in the CCF, the table outlines these changes. And at this time, I'm going to go into a presentation which also highlights the table. Maybe. Kimo. Page in your packet? 30.
Sideways.
Yes, sideways. Sorry about that. All right, we're good now. So this will be a brief presentation. The reason why this presentation come about was because of the concern with the increase year over year with the budget. This is just a different way to look at the final budget, and hopefully this answers some of the questions that may still be lingering out there. First, I'll remind you guys of the City of Safford vision that you guys came up with this year during the budget process. This is during our budget guidance presentation that the manager gave. Additionally, there's the strategic goals we had 10 strategic goals this year that we came up with in our budget process, as listed there. Firstly, I'll go over the table. This table is also included in the CCNF. As I said, in the CCNF, the first column is our 23-24 budget. The third column is the tentative budget this year. The fourth column is our year-over-year budget difference in dollars, and then the last column is the percent change year over year. At the top, I've sorted it rather by the amount in dollars of the two most major ones. That being your capital at a $13 million increase, contingency at a $5 million decrease, and then O&M personnel transfers out, internal services and debt follow that. So as you can see, based on this, the two top categories are your largest increases, and that makes up 18 million of that $21 million increase year over year. Any questions on this table?
On the personnel, that's wages, benefits, everything?
Mayor, vice mayor, the whole enchilada.
Enchilada, I understand that.
Yes, to speak rather better than that, it does include all of the O&M, the merit, the any increases that council had approved during the budget cycle.
Have it.
Yes.
Yeah, because we approved it, and you got it in here now, okay.
Yes, sir. Any other questions on this table? Continuing on, there's another way that we'll look at this breakdown. This is more of a percentage breakdown of prior year to the proposed. As we see on the left pie chart, that's the current year budget that we're in, 23-24. 36% of this year's budget was capital, 10% contingency, 25% O&M, and then continuing down, you have personnel transfers out, internal services, and debt. If you look at the proposed and approved tentative budget, we have 42% of the total budget is capital, 13% is contingency, O&M is 21%, personnel is 14%, and 5%, 3%, and 3% for transfers out, internal service, and debt. This was a different way to look at it, at the breakdown of the percentage of the overall of the budget. One of the things that I will point out in this pie chart, as you can see in the 23-24, you have personnel transfers out, internal service, and debt make up a larger portion of the overall budget. In the current proposed budget, they make up only 25% of the overall budget. So capital, contingency, and O&M make up 75% of this year's total budget.
Like when, sorry, man. When I asked you about reports on sales tax and different things during the year, quarterly, monthly, whatever we're going to get them, are you going to keep track of this too, and that it's tracking the way we have laid this out, that we're staying within that 5% and things like that? Actual?
Mayor, vice mayor, it is our plan to track each of these categories and give a percentage breakdown going forward at these quarterly reports that we give to council. If you would like, I can give it in a similar format to this if this is how you would like to read it. We also have other formats that we're comfortable with. But again, this is a presentation that we want to give to council that they're comfortable being able to look through. Hopefully, as we do more of these quarterly reports, they'll become more comfortable and you'll be able to read them and know exactly what you're looking at each time. I would expect the first one that you're going to see, you're going to have a lot of questions, but as we continue to present them to you, the questions will probably be more pointed at different things.
Yeah, you've made an effort to give us a bar diagram, a pie diagram. They might be side by side or in the next page, and it's been helpful. And just I personally want to track what we're actually doing, and because these are estimated, and then what is actual during the year.
Mayor, members of council. So that's correct. So right now, what we're given is a budget presentation. So we haven't started yet, right? So obviously, these are all our estimates for the upcoming year. What we're going to be doing, which we haven't done since I've been here, is to introduce quarterly meetings with our departments to do what we call budget variance analysis. In other words, when we look at the budgets as given, and then we look at the actuals on a quarterly basis. In addition to those meetings, we will also be generating a quarterly report. And again, in the past life, this was what I did. This is part of how we kept council in the loop. So you should be getting monthly revenue reports already. The quarterly reports will be both revenue and expenditure driven, and they will be based on your budget to actual spending up to that point. And then what we'll do within those is you'll see tables and charts that show those variances, so your budget and your actual, but there'll also be highlights in there. So if you're talking about, let's say, the water as a fund, water fund, there'll be an area in there where there's personnel, O&M, and capital, and anything of significance for that period. So it'll draw your attention to anything going on in that period. The other thing it'll allow us to do is, historically, and not just here, but most places, capital projects move around. They're hard to move forward with. Things change, grants don't get awarded. So those variances will be there, and we can discuss what projects are in the pipeline, why we're at the level we're at, what's not getting done, why it's not getting done. So I think you're going to find that the quarterly reports, once we start to generate them, will be fairly succinct, but they will also be somewhat detailed. So you will have a good combination of the overall narrative and highlights for that particular period.
And we added, I believe, $1 million to contingency fund.
We added 5, I believe.
5. Okay, I'm real wrong.
Or 8.
Five year over year.
Yeah, and again, this presentation is very purposive, and it's something we haven't done before. And again, the reason is because the idea here is to create a lot of visuals and to show variances that are easy to digest, not a lot of numbers. So the point of this particular table and the way it's structured is very clear, right? So highlighting the capital and contingency the way we have is drawing your attention to the fact that the question that was raised, this increase in the budget, is significant. Well, the vast majority of that money is coming from one-time expenditures, right? Capital projects, which vary by year. So if you have a large capital project in a given year, it can drive up the size of your budget. Contingency, we added the $5 million to because 2 cycles ago, we had a spike in commodity prices. And so we were concerned that we would actually go beyond the budget cap because the price of natural gas had gone up so much that even the contingencies that we had put into the budget would not have been enough to cover the overall expenditure had those spikes lasted over a longer period of time. So what we did was we increased the size of the contingency. And again, remember, anytime we expend contingency funds, they all are approved by council. So it's simply a holding pattern to say, if we have to buffer ourselves against volatility again, we won't run into a situation where, hey, we could actually run out of money in our budgetary cap, which we set during the tentative. So again, this is designed specifically to draw your attention, given an earlier question that was raised, why such a large increase in the year-over-year budget? This points it out pretty clearly that of the $21 million, you've got, what, 19 million of that basically, or no, 14.1 million of that is one-time money that's not part of your ongoing expenditure pattern.
Because we can increase the contingency money, but that doesn't mean we have it.
Correct. Now, and again, contingency, and we're going to be working on something called a budgeting 101, where we're going to kick off the budget cycles next year with an educational kind of, okay, here's budget, here's some of the glossary. So, for example, the contingency is simply providing you with the legal appropriation to expend funds. It's not money. Your whole budget is not money. It's appropriation. Means you are providing the legal appropriation that says at some point we can expend money. So that $5 million, which now is what, 13 in total, you could theoretically spend money from your reserves to fund contingency. And there's an item on tonight that does exactly that on the T-hanger issue, where using the contingency, you're taking money out of your savings account to activate the contingency. On the other hand, you could be the recipient of a grant in December that you weren't anticipating. The monies are available and it's $3 million. Well, you would still use contingency, $3 million, but the revenue would be coming from an external source. So the contingency gives you the ability to expend the funds. The source of those funds can either be your own savings account, reserves, or it could be an external source like a grant.
I get bogged down. We've been kicking this around for months. I get blurry looking at most of it, and then we've done good, I think, between us.
Does that make sense overall? I mean, the contingency gives you the ability to expend. The revenue could be yours or someone else's coming externally. That's
I know, but when you hit contingency money, it makes Mr. McGoy and I flinch. But what I'm getting at, what I want to point out, what I think I'm understanding, and I believe is on page 20, our total financial resources available is 143.5 million. Our budget expenditure and expenses is 102,736,000. So that resource we do have. It's coming in. That's a good prediction, I believe. 143.5 million is what we got resources. And we're talking about spending, putting the ceiling at 102.5 million. So we got wiggle room.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, correct. The 143 million that you're referring to it includes what we have in our fund balances, our savings. It's what we're predicting for the upcoming year in revenue that we're going to get and any other money that is coming in. So that 143 is our estimate with our fund balance and then what we expect to come in throughout the year. And then also on that sheet that you're looking at, the state form, there's our annual expenditure limitation amount. And this is what the state comes back and says, this is what the maximum you're allowed to expend to, which is, I believe, 122 million. I don't have it in front of me right now. 125 this year. That's what they say. You can't go over that unless you go out to your voters and request to go over that, which our budget this year is 102 million, which is well below that 125. But you are correct. The 143 is what we anticipate we have in savings, revenue coming in, or any other funding sources.
Okay, and the jump, of course, was capital.
And just, if I may just add, so the expenditure limitation also, some things that we expend funds in the 102 million wouldn't count overall. So say things like debt service, they don't count. So even though it's part of your 102 million, when you're looking at that 143 million or your expenditure limitation of 125, a lot of the funding in here would not go towards that cap either. So it's more complicated than the overall.
I want to make sure I'm on
I
the
just
line.
want to be clear. So of the 102, not all of it would even count towards your expenditure limitation. There are certain exclusions that go in.
Okay.
Any questions on these pie charts before I move on to the next?
And what page are you on,
My presentation doesn't have pages, unfortunately.
He just that's 34.
34. We'll take his word.
Your presentation doesn't have page numbers this time.
This time. Thank you. Continuing on, we have this stacked bar chart here. Again, this is another way to look at the budgets over the years. This year, this one actually goes back 5 years. And these are budgeted numbers. Kind of the point that the vice mayor was making about the quarterly reports. These are just budget amounts. These don't actually give the actuals that were spent in those years. So I just want to make sure that we understand that on all these charts, these are budget to budget. So, in starting from the left side, we have the 21 budget. And then continuing all the way to the right, we have the tentative budget and this year's proposed budget. Kind of some of the things I want to point out that might be questions is, as you can see in 22, we have the bond payment in the white there. That was that one-time bump that we got for the bond issuance. Then, as you can see, continuing after that, and you'll see this more kind of stratified when we go over the general fund stacked bar chart. The debt service will increase the years following, and then you'll see a slight decrease in personnel because the PSPRS payments were made out of the personnel category for police. As we continue, though, you can see that as we go year to year, the black is your capital and the teal color is your contingency. The other categories below that see slight increases, not to the magnitude that you see in capital or contingency, though. Does anybody have any questions on the all funds expenditure by category? Again, this is all funds, and we'll go into general fund, HERF, streets, and then the enterprise funds.
Go ahead.
Next one we see is general fund. Again, like I said, you see the bond in 22, and then following that, the lighter blue is the debt payment that we incurred because of the debt service payment in the following years. And then as you see the personnel, which is the bottom part of the stacked bar, you see a slight decrease in 23. That's because it had changed from being a personnel expense to a debt service payment in the years follow. Additionally, you see the black is the capital in that, and that portion of the stacked chart sees a larger magnitude increases year over year. Any questions on the general fund stacked charts? All right, next up, we have the HERF Streets. This one kind of tells its own story, I think. HERF Streets is largely their budget changes by their capital projects. Other than that, your personnel, operating expenses, internal service, and debt remain right around that $2 million mark with very minimal variance year to year or slight increasing. Capital projects is what drives HERF. Any questions on HERF Streets? And finally, we have the enterprise funds. Very similar to streets, their personnel, O&M, internal service, and debt remain at a pretty similar year over year amount with slight increasing. One of the things that we do in our enterprise funds is we call out purchase for resale. That is how our purchase for natural gas and then also electricity. The reason that we do that is so that we can see the spike, or we could see the spike in last year's budget, and then the decrease in this year, comfortably decreasing those purchases for resale. As we saw, we decreased gases by 300,000, and then we decreased electrics purchase for resale by $1 million. So that's why there's a decrease in the purchase for resale. But again, with these year to year, black is the capital, and those have the largest magnitude changes year over year.
And the enterprises are doing fine. They're meeting their O&M.
The enterprise, Mayor, Vice Mayor, the enterprise funds are doing well, yes. We do have rate studies planned for this year, which are needed in some of them. I think that it'll be good for most of them to undergo a rate study to shore up some of their rates, but in this budget, they are doing fine.
But we're looking at a rate study in all of them
Correct.
across the board. I'm hoping we're not looking at having to raise any as best we can, of course. And that's a big smile. That's what why I'm smiling. I'd
Um,
rather not.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, obviously the hope is never to raise rates. Um, I, our hope is to never have to raise rates, right?
But we'll also, and I think we've had this conversation, if we raise one, maybe we can tickle another one down. So that question will come back to you if you bring it that way. Thank you, sir.
Any questions on this last one? Any questions on this whole presentation or the final budget?
Mayor? Just a comment that I've thought the whole budget process has been fantastic this year, and I appreciate the hours of work that have gone into it from finance, all the department heads. It's been great.
Thank you.
And your presentations have been outstanding.
Thank you.
Very easy to follow. Thank you.
Even without page numbers. And sideways.
Anybody else?
I'm good, Mayor.
Okay, then we'll close the special meeting and reconvene into regular session.
Mayor,
We need to move.
it's a adoption of a resolution, so we need a motion.
I move that we adopt the financial budget by approving resolution R24-022.
Second.
If I may, sorry to interrupt. I believe this also has to be a roll call vote.
Call out.
Do you still need a second? Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget by resolution R24-022, and it'll be voted on by roll call.
Mayor Ortega,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Lopez,
Aye.
Councilman McGoy,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bratner, Councilman Hemphill,
Aye.
Councilman Andazola,
Aye.
Councilman Arbizo. Thank you.
Okay, so then resolution R24-022 is approved. Read it.
This approves resolution number R24-022, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, approving and adopting the city budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then thank you, Matt. We'll go ahead and close the special meeting and reconvene into a regular meeting, Item number 14. Everybody have a chance to review the minutes?
Make the motion, we approve the minutes from May 9th and May 13th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of May 9th and May 13th of 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, then item number 2, reappointment of Lee Patterson for the Planning and Zoning Board.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff requests a reappointment of Lee Patterson to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This meets strategic goals, public information, and outreach. The volunteers on the Planning and Zoning Commission serve as an important role in reviewing code updates and development projects at public meetings. Council passed Ordinance 22-022 to update the appointment process for Planning and Zoning Commissioners to read as follows. I won't read that in its entirety to you. Staff has received a request to be reappointed from Lee Patterson. The Planning and Zoning Commission Chair and Planning and Community Development Director recommend the appointment. There is one matter of clarification that I would like to receive from input from council on. Generally, it's been tradition in the past that if a member's term was expiring, they had the first opportunity to reapply. Would council like to continue that moving forward, or would you like to open the position for applications? In this case, staff would recommend that we continue the historical practice because I tremendously value years of experience on the Planning and Zoning Commission. With that, I will stand for questions.
I totally agree with you. Anybody else?
Did you ask the commission this question too?
Yes, sir, and we do have an email from Chairperson O'Donnell recommending his reappointment.
I'm good with it.
All right, totally. Anybody else? Okay, then it's an action item.
Mayor, I move that we reappoint Lee Patterson to the Planning and Zoning Board.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to reappoint Lee Patterson to the Planning and Zoning Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, Jamie. Item number 15.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson.
Contracts and bids. Number 1, Hollywood Road, water material only, bid awarded. CP number WA 2301. Gabe?
Thanks, Mayor and Council. This is a request for the council, the mayor and council to approve expenditures for the procurement of the water pipe for the Hollywood Road to Ferguson. You guys remember we're in the final stages of some of the design for replacing the Hollywood Road. That'll be going to bid in this late fall. This project was approved in the 23-24 budget under the water department. This will be an internal project that Morgan and Jason's team will go out there and replace a lot of that water pipe that's in the ground right now internally, and this is for the procurement of just the materials. If you guys are aware, that pipe was installed in the mid-1930s, 1934. A lot of that was installed in there, so we want to make sure that we just update a lot of that infrastructure prior to the road going in. We did complete a bid opening. We received 4 of them. This is the first of the 2 bid awards. We separated these into a minus 12-inch pipe and then a plus 12-inch pipe to increase a little bit of the competition. This is for the less than 12-inch pipe. And like I mentioned, this will be funded through the enterprise water funds. We did get the bid openings from 4 different competitors, with the lowest being Ferguson. You can see in the budget we had $345,000, and they're proposing for $154,815 for this. For this request, this will be the initial purchase and takeoff for expenditures and get us some of our major items going forward. So it's recommended, staff recommends that the mayor and council to approve the expenditures, allow for the procurement of materials through Ferguson in the amount of $154,815. It's also recommended to allow the city manager or his designee the authority to change orders up to 10% of the contracted value. With that, I'd stand up for any questions.
You're asking for procurement for water pipe, Hollywood Road, almost everything reads the same for your next presentation.
Correct.
Is there a difference in the size of the pipe or what?
So we split the bids just to help increase the competition in the bidding process. So the first bid, the bid A that we separated out, was everything less than 12-inch piping. So
I kind of, almost seem duplicate, but that's your reasoning. Okay, thank you, sir.
I just wanted to make sure you were reading them.
Okay.
Lopez.
Yeah, I was reading it.
Okay, it's an action item. Anybody else? Any questions? Need a motion?
Mayor, I move that we approve the Hollywood Road Water Bid Award A for CIP number WA2301 in the amount of $154,815.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Hollywood Road water material only bid award A, CP number WA 2301. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And item number 2, Hollywood Road is the same, but it's award B. CP, everything's the same. It's just, you explain it.
And I do apologize for the confusion on that. Like I said, we're trying to do it in the best interest of the city. So this is the second part of that same project. Like I said, other than just increasing the pipe diameter or anything above a 12-inch is what we wind up doing that for separation. Same thing, same project. This one, was bidded. We actually received 3 bids on this one, and you can see that Ferguson was also the cheapest on this bid right here. So now we still have that budget of 345,000 with the bid A and then the bid B, which leaves a balance of about 117,000. Like I mentioned, this is the major takeoff of the majority of the equipment or the material that we'll need. We'll still need to supplement that with some of the smaller stuff, which should be less than the 60,000 in request for council to approve. So that leaves 117,000 to finish out that internal work. So staff recommends that the mayor and council to approve the expenditures and allow for the procurement of materials through Ferguson in the amount of 72,769. It's also recommended that to allow the city manager or his designee authority to execute change orders up to 10% of the contract.
Any comments? Motion, it's an action item.
Mayor, I move that we approve Hollywood Road Water Bid Award B, CIP number WA 2301 to Ferguson Waterworks.
I want to second it, but I want to say something, probably going back to our park thing. You said the pipe was 1931,
It was installed in 1934.
34. That's some of the footprint that other people and legends put here. And the pipe that was hung along the walls in Beneath Creek, Mr. Shirley, Mr. Blake, Mr. Case, back in that day, physically hanging that pipe along there to bring that water in here back that long. That's a big footprint too. I second it.
A motion and a second to approve Hollywood Road Water Material Only Bid Award B for the CIP number WA 2301. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Item number 3, 8th Street Water Replacement Material Only. CIP number WA 2502.
Mayor, again, this is going to be another internal project completed by the water department, Morgan's team and Jason's team. So this was a bid for materials for them to allow to start doing the install. So this is a request for the mayor and council to authorize the expenditures for procurement to replace the water line on the 8th Street through Ferguson as well. This section of road is the one that goes between 8th Street and it'll be on the 20th Avenue that goes down to 1st Avenue. Currently, Thatcher has in their plans to replace that road and expand it. You've probably seen some construction where they're moving some of the ditches and irrigation systems over. We want to go in there and wind up completing that loop. I believe Morgan's kind of brought this to you guys, and we talked about expediting some of this. This was approved tentatively in the budget for next year, so we're bringing this in a little bit in advance. And once again, this is going to be funded via the enterprise water funds and allow for the internal construction. We did receive 4 bids on this one, Ferguson being the low one as well. And as I mentioned, this is in the 24-25 budget. For the materials alone, this is in the amount of $297,000. So staff recommends that the mayor and council to approve the expenditures and allow for the procurement of materials through Ferguson in the amount of $199,297, and allow the manager or his designee authority to execute change orders up to 10%.
Mayor, I move that we approve the 8th Street Water Replacement CIP number WA 2502 bid award to Ferguson Waterworks.
We have a motion and a second to approve the 8th Street Water Replacement Materials Only CIP number WA 2502. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carries. And we'll move on to item number 4, T Hanger Construction Bid Award number CIP number AP 2302.
Mayor and council, last one here. This is a request for mayor and council to authorize a bid award and enter into contract with Trailer Construction LLC. If you guys remember, there was a CIP budget project that was for the construction of the T-hangers out at the airport. The original scope of this project was to put in 8 T-hangers out there. Working with Cameron and looking at some of the availability out there, we were able to achieve this very close to the budgetary amount and expand that up to 10 T-hangers. Because of the cost efficiency, it was more effective to go with 10 instead of the 8. We've actually completed the internal design to this one, as well as the bidding process. You can see in there that we were able to receive 3 different bids, with the lowest being from Trailer Construction in the amount of $674,918. We had a 23-24 budget of $640,000. When we started doing some of the original scoping on there, we were kind of chasing a little bit of inflation. So you can see that now the proposed construction cost for materials and construction is in that $674,918. So to Mr. Casella's point, this is the part where we're asking for a little bit of contingency. So staff recommends that the mayor and council to approve expenditures to allow for the city to enter in contract with Trailer Constructions in the amount of $674,918, and to also approve the use of contingency funds from the general funds in the amount of $34,918 to complete the project. It's also recommended to allow the city manager or his designee the authority to execute contract change orders not to exceed 10% of the contracted value. With that, I'd stand for any questions.
Is the trailer, is that a local?
Yes, correct. That's Ty Trailer. He's the one that I believe he used to run and operate Mighty Mike's. He's been constructing a few of the T hangars out at the airport. So he's a local contractor.
Mayor, I move that we approve T-Hanger Construction bid award to Trailer Construction, including the use of contingency funds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the T-Hanger Construction Bid Award, number CIP number AP 2302. All in favor? Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
Mr. Bowman, thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate all you guys, all you done.
And I'm just so happy to see all the progress happening at the airport. It's gonna be great. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 16. Ordinances. Number 1, ordinance number 024-003, amendment to Title II of the City Municipal Code.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request to approve the ordinance that we did the first reading on of O24-003 for the amendments to the Title II, Chapter 2.04 of the Safford Municipal Code to coincide with the Arizona Revised Statute 38-431 and the Arizona Open Meeting Law. The background is that the staff had reviewed the current city code for the process of the council meetings and discovered there were sections in Title II that did not coincide with the Arizona Open Meeting Law or the revised statute. After the analysis, after the research was conducted, we determined that the discrepancies between the Safford Municipal Code and the Arizona Open Meeting Law and state statutes. Staff identified the sections in the Title II of Chapter 2.04 that were needing to be updated in order to comply with the Arizona Open Meeting Law and the state statute. And staff is recommending to move forward with approving Ordinance 024-003 to implement the changes presented in Title II, Chapter 2.04, Sections 2.04.110 for work sessions, 2.04.150 for the order of business, and Section 2.04.170 for the voting. And I'll stand for any questions.
Have any questions? If not, it's an action item.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance O24-003, amendment to Title II of the Safford Municipal Code.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 024-003, amendment to Title II of the Safford Municipal Code. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. B.
This completes the approval of ordinance number 024-003, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Title II, Chapters 2.04.110 work sessions, 2.04.150 order of business, and 2.04.170 for voting, to provide procedures for the process of the city council meetings and coincide with Arizona Revised Statute Title 38, Chapter 3, Article 3.1, Public Meeting and Proceedings. Thank you.
Okay, then, number two, ordinance number 024-005, the Palmer Lane, rezone.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Staff is requesting a second reading and approval or a denial of ordinance 024-005, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, rezoning Graham County Assessor's Parcel 102-18-063E from the CMH Conventional Manufactured Home District to the C2 Highway Commercial District. The two strategic goals being met are growth and development to pursue infill opportunities. Background, the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council have held the required public hearings and a first reading of the ordinance. Staff has received no further comment from any neighbors or the public. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission have recommended approval, and your attachment is ordinance 024-005. And I have the map of the area on the projector, and I do have the entire file if you do have any questions before we proceed.
Anybody, any questions or comments?
024-005, Palmer rezone.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 024-005, Palmer rezone. All in favor? Opposed? Carries.
This completes approval of ordinance number 024-005, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, effectuating a map amendment rezoning Graham County Assessor's Parcel number 102-18-063E from City of Safford C-MH Conventional Manufactured Home District to C-2 Highway Commercial District.
Thank you. Okay, and then item number three, ordinance number 024-006, amendment to Title 16, subdivisions of Safford Municipal Code.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for Mayor and City Council for a first reading of ordinance 024-006, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, for amendments to Title 16 subdivisions of the Safford Municipal Code for general street requirement updates. Little bit of background, staff reviewed the current city code and identified sections of Title 16 that needed to be updated based on prior council discussion regarding planned street circulation and future growth. Staff also wanted to clarify and make minor updates to other sections of of Title 16, as well as update the cul-de-sac detail in Title 16. Recommendation is, staff recommend is approval of the first read of ordinance 024-006, amending Title 16 subdivisions of the Safford Municipal Code for general street requirement updates as follows. Summary would be section 16.06.010. The purpose, there's added language in there for clarity of setbacks for properties abutting streets shown on the general plan, but where roads don't exist yet. There's also an update in section 16.12.020, general guidelines, adding language for clarity with respect to street improvements, both on-site and off-site improvements being completed to the current standards prior to being dedicated and accepted by the city. Section 16.12030, general street requirements. There's added language regarding arterial and collector streets, aligning with section and half section lines. An update of general requirements for cul-de-sacs, and added language for providing additional clarity for arterial and collector street layouts, continuation with future lands. And then section 16.12.040 street standards. There's language clarifying the curb and gutter and sidewalk requirements, the updated table 16.12.040 for the new cul-de-sac dimensions, and an updated figure 16-4 for the cul-de-sac itself. That's a quick summary, and I'm stand for questions if you have any.
I just wanted to make a comment that as we have had various conversations, we've been talking about development being a thing that we've been looking at and moving forward on. So this item is a product of that work. So this is the first item to come out of the Development Review Committee that we're looking at and changes, and some of them are ones that we've discussed in the past. So this is the first byproduct of that group. There will be more down the road. So just an FYI.
Action item.
No, do these code changes, do they also go in front of the planning and zoning also? No? Okay. I'm done there.
An action item.
So we just need a motion for the first reading.
Mayor, I move that we approve a first read of ordinance 024-006.
Second.
Sorry.
Sorry, Michael. No, you used to me
Aye.
This completes the first reading of ordinance number 024-006, an ordinance of the City of Safford, Graham County, Arizona, amending Title 16, subdivision sections 16.06.010, purpose, 16.12.020, general guidelines, 16.12.030, general street requirements, and 16.12.040, street standards of the City of Safford Municipal Code for the general street requirement updates.
And Mayor, if I would take just 1 second, many of you hopefully know that this is Gabe Bowman's last meeting here. I just want to publicly thank him for all the help he's provided for me for the last 3 years. He's going to be greatly missed, and hopefully we can replace him. I've only had a few sleepless nights thinking about going back to what it was a couple years without him here, so hopefully wish him the best of luck if you can before he leaves tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then we'll move on to item number 17, the financial reports. Number 1, the P-card report. Any questions?
We had one P card, it said 6,320. It showed up on the P card, but it didn't show, I don't think it showed up on the 5,000 one. Isn't that supposed to go to the 5,000 one also? I remember I asked that once before and it said, you're gonna see it again in the 5,000. For Vanguard Truck Center. It's just a question, it was for 6,320. And I thought it was out of place in this bunch.
Mayor, council, we'll look into that and get back to you.
Get it.
Any other questions?
I also saw lots, of course, it's the season, lots of them with advanced air system for air conditionings and stuff like that. I think time to time, we need to look into our contractors and see, rotate them, look into if there's not a better deal somewhere, get bids for overall. I think they take care of all our facilities, but it might be time to look into some of that too, to see if we can get a better price if it's out there, locally especially.
Anybody else?
I just want to mention, I did email city manager about this, but I just want to make sure that when we're making these large purchases, that we're being very cognizant that we're using our businesses that are within our city limits, because I did see, like with Advanced Air, that they're in Thatcher. So I want to make sure, because we have, what, 3 different AC companies within our city limits. So I want to make sure that we're giving them the chance first, even if maybe they are just a little bit higher because they are in our city limits. And if we're going to tell people shop local, we kind of need to practice what we preach. So let's give them an opportunity too. I mean, they are our business. They've chose to do business in Safford. So I just want to make sure that we're being very cognizant of our businesses that are within our city limits.
Mayor? And P cards have come a long way. The definition, the description of what was purchased and stuff is a lot better than it ever was. You can tell that there's new employees that aren't putting that into there. but it's very helpful to have the description on there. And the fireworks, 13,000. City of Stafford, do we pay for all the fireworks?
Mayor, Vice Mayor Lopez, no. Well, it's changed over the past 2 years. So it used to be that we provided a $5,000 donation to the Lions Club, and then they would oversee the parade, and then we would put on the fireworks. And we generally got donations from various other entities, municipalities, sometimes the mine. Last year, if you recall, very late in the season, we were told that the Lions Club could not purchase the fireworks anymore. So what we did is we took that on in-house. In fact, I had a meeting with the Lions Club member today, and so what will happen is we'll still be putting our 5,000 in, although there's an additional $3,000 rider that the insurance requires for lighting off the fireworks, which when I kind of took a little deeper dive last year into the process and how it unfolded, I don't think the county was looking at that particular item. So we will have that one additional expenditure, and then we get reimbursements from Thatcher and also from the mine. So the only additional cost to us going forward will be that $3,000.
Sure. Anybody else? Not, then we'll move on to expenses over 5,000.
Or
And we'll move on to number 3, revenues over 5,000.
the one I hope keeps climbing.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and we'll close the regular council meeting and reconvene into executive session.
Mayor, I make the motion, we adjourn into executive session and take a 5-minute break.
Second.
Okay, motion second to adjourn.
Could we
take a
vote,
5-minute
please?
break.
Could we vote on the adjournment to executive session?
Yeah. Say that again.
So you
You
made
need
a
to vote,
motion, made a
yes.
second, and I'm just saying, could we actually vote?
Aye.
Aye.
We have to vote to go into executive.
Yes. Thank you.
Regular session meeting.
We, with a motion and a second to go back into regular, reconvene into the regular council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 21, announcement of current events. First item, summer council meeting.
Mayor, members of council, I was just going to ask if council's interested after we have our second meeting in June where we adopt the property tax, if council would be interested in not having the first meeting in July as kind of a bit of a recess and then pick up again with the second meeting in July going forward.
I have no problem with it.
Are we good with that?
Work, work, work.
All right, so I will take that.
And if you need us, you can always
That-
call us in.
Does that mean we're gonna give all these people that night off?
No.
No, we'll all be here anyway. And then the second item is part of our process for recruitment on an assistant city manager position. I just wanted to announce the June 19th meet and greet. So we've been going through a process, multiple levels, interview questions. There'll be other assignments that they've given, take-home questions, some things that we're going to do internally, and then a meet and greet. And so we're looking for feedback from department heads and the council again to kind of just get as broad a input as we can on the position and see, where people are looking, what they like. We have a committee or a group of folks right now that are going through that process that are doing the interviews. And so it's another data point for us to figure out, what's the sense of the people just as a meet and greet kind of open thing. So I just wanted to remind everybody that's on June 19th, and there'll be more specific information going on that from HR. So those are the two items that I had.
22, request for future agenda items. Anybody?
Okay. Also think it's time for us to discuss the P cards and how they're coming about and some of the other stuff, because I myself think a vehicle should have its own inventory so that we know why items are purchased, how many times they've been purchased on there. It's just an inventory, just like the warehouse. Your vehicle has your equipment. What's the turnover on it? So I'd like to have kind of like a little P card discussion. I'll gather my
Okay, so P cards.
Or
So the relationship of how we're replacing our equipment and what's showing up on the P cards is, I think, the
Yeah.
connection you're making.
yeah, because
Okay.
I mean we had one equipment for truck. That doesn't explain a whole lot.
Okay. All right, we'll see what we can put together. I think that, as part of the approach that we're taking to try and gather more data, those processes should be looked at anyway, so we'll see what we can put together.
Yeah, that's some of our expenditures too.
Anybody else? We'll move on to number 23, report on operational items, the police accreditation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I give you my presentation on our accreditation program, I want to introduce a couple new officers, Emilio Molinar and Noah Bevins. Both local products. Emilio comes to us from Pima, and Noah comes to us from Stafford. They went through the 20-week police academy. We sponsored them. This is their second week of field training, so I just wanted to introduce them to you. Let you know that we got them through, and they're doing a good job for us. They got to experience quite a bit for their first week last week, so we're excited to have them.
Assume the
This is
position.
Emilio and this is Noah.
Welcome.
Hi.
Sorry.
Hi. Glad you're here.
Yeah, and this also does bring us to a fully staffed department. So it's been a while,
Chief.
so we're
All right,
we're
Chief.
really happy to have them. Happy, excited, everything.
Good ball players, Stan.
We missed him on Saturday at the first responder tournament, but
Thank you, officers.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. We're going to talk about police accreditation today. And I'll just get right into it. So, on April 17th, the Safford Police Department was officially admitted into the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. So, a lot of questions is, what is accreditation? So, and I'm not going to stay verbatim on this, but I'm going to give you the key points on it. So, accreditation is a systematic method of conducting a detailed internal review of law enforcement agencies, policies, procedures, and operations and training. This is a voluntary program that we did in order to promote that we are a public and professional agency. Gives recognition to our agency by an independent auditor. So this is an external audit that auditors that actually come in and review all our processes and our procedures. One of the things I'll touch on, and we'll get into it here in a second, is if you recall, several months ago, we had Bill Amato from Edwards and Amato, who write our policies and procedures specific to the police department. So they actually are the policy and procedure manual for accreditation. So having them on board was a big part of our decision to join the Arizona Law Enforcement Accreditation Program. So what are the goals? And I guess I should also say, one of the things is that these goals and these processes that we're doing, we already meet the majority of the standards. It's now just an independent audit. So formalize essential management procedures for greater accountability. So accountability, you'll hear throughout this. Fair and non-discriminatory personnel practices. Improve service delivery to our community as well as our surrounding communities. As you know, we work not just in Stafford, but Councilman Arvizo can tell you we spend time in Thatcher, Pima, and in the county. And to build community trust in our police department. The community benefits are increased ability for us to prevent and control crime by established best practices. That's another key term, is best practices. Enhance community understanding of our agency and our role within the community. Hopefully, as you've seen, that we've been pretty active in the community. All our events, we've got our canopy, and we've been doing our Citizens Academy, and we actually just completed our Teen Academy. Next council meeting will bring you a presentation on that. That was pretty successful. So that's kind of our role within the community. Citizens' confidence and understanding of our policies and procedures. So again, we have a separate policy for the police department. That way people can understand why we have that policy and the procedures and who writes it for us. Commits us to a broad range of programs that directly benefit the community. Again, our community outreach programs that we do are Teen Academy or Citizens Academy. And reduce liability. When I say reduce liability, it doesn't mean that we're going to save money in our insurance rates or anything like that, but it reduces our exposure to frivolous lawsuits of people saying that we engaged a certain practice that's contrary to our policy procedure. Independent auditors will come in and say, no, we do not do that. For us, for agency benefits, it's an independent evaluation. So it lets us know that if there are any deficiencies within our agency that we need to correct. So if there's anything wrong that we're not doing within our policy procedure, it identifies that and we can correct that. And it also requires us to commit to our policy and procedure manual, which again, we already do. You know, we've had that manual for several years as was presented, and we've always adhered to that manual. Again, it reduces our exposure to lawsuits, things like that, and accountability among personnel. So people within the department know, okay, we are an accredited agency. I have to go by this policy and procedure. And by doing all these things, it increases our community confidence within us. So what are the benefits? So I will say that one of the benefits is that we are a professional agency, and this is just going to show that we are a professional agency. It justifies our operations, trust within the community. Also gives us a high evaluation of our high liability areas in our operations. Gives us training and holds officers accountable. It also promotes transparency. So we also hear that a lot within police transparency. Basically, we open up the books to the auditors, let them see what we're doing. One of the things that we have to do during accreditation is we actually have to provide proofs. We have a policy for XYZ. we actually have to give them a proof that we are abiding by that policy. So it's not just us telling them, hey, we're doing it. We actually have to prove it to them. So timeline. So again, like I said, in April, we were admitted into the program, and it's a 2-year program, what we call the self-assessment phase. And I'll give you some numbers on what each phase involves, but we have 24 months to complete the self-assessment phase. After that, we go into a 4-year accreditation program. That's pretty, the initial's intense, but the 4 years after that are even more intense. We do every 4 years, you do a cycle. And every time we do these cycles, so what will happen at the 2 years, at the end of the 24 months, we will have a mock audit, and then we will have an official audit. And that just tells us once we get accredited, we have to maintain that standard. So some of the requirements for the self-assessment phase, which is the 24-month phase, there's 174 initial standards to be audited and validated through that process. We have to do 3 on-site visits to an accredited agency. So these are agencies that have already gone through the process and are in their 4 years of being an accredited agency. During the 4-year accreditation periods, there is a yearly audit. And again, this is a yearly audit of over 521 standards. So it's quite a bit of work. And I'll get into some of the process, how we're going to take that on. What do they evaluate? We have high risk, low frequency, things like use of force, pursuits, dealing with mental illness. High risk, high frequency, search and seizure, handcuffing, transport, things like that. Low risk, low frequency, that's more of your administrative planning and research, those type of events. And then low risk, high frequency, training. You've seen through maybe our P-card purchases as well as our the information we provide. You have to have a lot of training. We have to have annual training in different areas. So again, Councilman Arvizo, that's all the training that we have to have on an annual basis. So again, the essence is best practices. Is the department upholding established rules, regulations, and standards set forth by the policy and procedure? The easy answer is yes, we are. I'm not going to say this is going to be an easy process for us, but it's not going to be difficult in the sense that we have to start following policy and procedure because we are already doing it. And it provides framework for those best practices for all of our officers, all the way up and down the chain. This last slide just to show you other departments within the state. I will say that probably on the eastern side of the state, we're one of the first agencies to take this on. One of the things is that I think we're getting ahead of the game on this a little bit because they're speculating, and it's not saying it's law, but all agencies are going to have to be accredited. We're really getting ahead of it. Have any questions?
See it. Seems like yesterday there was no answers on stuff. I'm glad you're headed that way, Chief. Great.
Yeah, and like I said, this will be good for us because it holds our feet to the fire. Like I said, I think we do a great job already, and this will just help prove that we are the best. Thank you.
Thank you, and everybody's doing a good job. We appreciate all that you guys do.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Really do.
Make the motion, we adjourn.
Really? Second? All in favor? We're adjourned. About time, I was waiting for you. Pretty slow, man.